In this series on Kenneth McDuff, the notorious Broomstick Killer, we'll dive deep into his life, crimes, and the systemic breakdowns that allowed his terror to unfold. This isn't just a recounting of horrors. It's an examination of how individual pathology intersects with broader social forces, creating monsters in our midst. We'll explore McDuff's origins, his first heinous acts, and the early warning signs ignored by a community and system ill-equipped to intervene. Kenneth Allen McDuff was born on March 21, 1946, in the small, rural town of Rosebud, Texas, a place where cotton fields stretched endlessly and community ties ran deep. He was the fifth of 6 children in a working-class family headed by John Allen J.A. McDuff, a stern but successful entrepreneur who capitalized on the post-war construction boom by running a concrete pouring business. Young Kenneth often labored alongside his father, hauling heavy loads and learning the value of hard work, or so it seemed. But beneath this facade of normalcy lurked dysfunction. McDuff's mother, Addie, was fiercely protective, earning the nickname Pistol-Packing Mama after she once brandished a gun at a school bus driver who had disciplined her son Lonnie, Kenneth's twin. This incident, detailed in Gary Laverne's book Bad Boy from Rosebud, exemplifies how overindulgent parenting can foster entitlement and aggression, key precursors to antisocial behavior in criminological models like Albert Bandura's social learning theory. From childhood, McDuff exhibited classic signs of budding psychopathy. At Rosebud High School, he was a notorious bully, targeting smaller or weaker classmates after losing a fistfight to a popular student named Tommy Sammons. He dropped out early, preferring manual jobs, but his bravado masked deeper insecurities. Sociologically, rural Texas in the 1950s and 1960s, marked by economic disparity, limited mental health resources, and a culture of toughness, provided fertile ground for such traits to flourish unchecked. Communities like Rosebud often dismissed juvenile delinquency as boys being boys, ignoring how it escalates without intervention. McDuff bragged about minor exploits, like mowing lawns for elderly women to stir jealousy, but these were harbingers of his predatory instincts. By age 18, in 1964, McDuff's criminality crystallized. He was convicted of 12 counts of burglary and attempted burglary across 3 counties, Bell, Milam, and Falls, receiving concurrent 4-year sentences. Paroled after less than a year in December 1965, he quickly reverted to violence. Reports from his accomplice Roy Dale Green suggest McDuff confided in his brother Lonnie about raping a woman and slashing her throat shortly after release, though this went unreported at the time. This pattern aligns with criminological research on recidivism, where early parole without rehabilitation programs reinforces deviant behavior, as seen in studies from the Texas Department of Criminal Justice.
The pivotal event that cemented McDuff's infamy occurred on August 6, 1966, the Broomstick Murders. At 20 years old, McDuff and 18-year-old Green, a co-worker from his father's business, were cruising in Green's car when they spotted 3 teenagers parked near Everman, Texas. Robert Brand, 17, his cousin Mark Dunham, 15, and Edna Louise Sullivan, 16, Robert's girlfriend. Armed with a .38 Colt revolver, McDuff forced them into the trunk of Brand's 1964 Ford at gunpoint. He drove to a remote field, ordered the boys out, and shot them multiple times in the face while they begged for mercy. 6 shots total, ensuring their deaths. Sullivan, terrified, was then subjected to hours of repeated rape by both men in the car's back seat. To silence her, McDuff pressed a 3-foot broomstick against her throat, snapping her neck with brutal force, hence the moniker Broomstick Killer. The bodies were dumped in isolated spots, the boys in a ditch, Sullivan in bushes. Afterward, the duo casually bought Coca-Cola in Hillsborough and spent the night at Green's house.
Green, overwhelmed by guilt and fear, confessed the next day to his stepfather, who alerted authorities. McDuff was arrested by Falls County Sheriff Albert Brady Pamplin, whose son Larry would later play a key role in McDuff's recapture, and Deputy U.S. Marshal T.P. McNamara Sr. The investigation revealed McDuff's sadistic thrill-seeking, a hallmark of psychopathy per Robert Hare's psychopathy checklist, including superficial charm, lack of remorse, and sexual deviance. Criminologically, this triple murder exposes McDuff's profile as a disorganized offender with escalating violence, blending sexual sadism with power assertion. Sociologically, it underscores rural vulnerabilities. Sparse policing in the 1960s Texas allowed crimes to occur without immediate detection, reflecting broader issues like underfunded law enforcement in economically strained areas. The case also highlights accomplice dynamics. Green claimed coercion, receiving a lighter 25-year sentence and parole in 1979, while McDuff faced the death penalty. In 1968, McDuff was sentenced to death. But in 1972, the U.S. Supreme Court issued the Furman v. Georgia ruling, temporarily abolishing the death penalty on the grounds that it was arbitrary and discriminatory. McDuff's sentence was commuted to life imprisonment. But this wasn't the end of the story. In fact, it was only the beginning of a much darker chapter. In the next episode, we'll explore how one of the worst failures in the Texas justice system allowed a convicted killer to walk free and kill again. Our sources for this episode include The Road to Waco by Gary M. Laverne, records from the Texas Department of Public Safety, and court documents related to McDuff's cases. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss Episode 2. See you next time.